Heavier EVs don't pay to run in California. We are live on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Twitter, X. This is Ronald Stein. Let me show his bio so you can read carefully later. No problem. Good afternoon, Ronald Stein. It's a pleasure having you here today in our podcast.
Armando, glad to be back.
You mentioned in an article that taxes for state to spend on control, police, maintenance, all type of vehicles pay tax to drive on California roads. And my question, you said that heavy trucks, electric to heavy trucks, don't pay?
Well, in California, most of the revenue to maintain the roads, and California is a big state. We got 400,000 miles of roadways, and the fuel taxes, which are the highest in the country, basically raised like $8.8 billion. Now that $8.8 billion is used to maintain the roads. And it's not enough to maintain the roads because the American Society of Civil Engineers, they do an infrastructure report card, and they gave California a D, as in dog. And basically, the only state below us was Mississippi. We have almost the worst. Mississippi has the worst road conditions in the country. And all these fuel taxes are used to maintain the roads. Well, EVs don't use any fuel, so they're not going to be paying into that 8.8 billion. And the 8.8 billion is going to be decreasing over the years. And right now, there's no way to make that payment up. So yeah, they're not paying to maintain the roads. And the Tesla is a 1,000-pound battery, and California wants the trucks to go EVs, these 18-wheelers. Now they're bigger. Well, the truck EV battery weighs like 16,000 pounds. And you're putting all this extra weight on pretty much the worst roads in the country, and it can't get any better. So,
and when these trucks go to different states, do they pay in the other states? No.
Oh, no. The only thing, they basically use electricity, whatever the electricity rates are. That would be the only thing they're paying into, the state. How they distribute the electrical revenue is up to the state. But no, they it's going to be a tough road to hoe, as they say.
So to the owners of these electric trucks, the OPEX, the operational expenditure, is lower compared to the others with normal cars, normal trucks, no?
Operational for maintenance of the vehicles?
Costs, the whole costs to operate, because electricity is cheaper than oil. And
presently,
no tax.
Let me give you an example. In the UK, they know they've got two problems. They've got also roads to maintain. They also have an electrical grid, and they're concerned about the stability of the grid to take, all these massive charging requirements onto the grid at the same time. So in the UK, they've done two things. They implemented last year in, I think, June of 22. And all electric vehicles are going to be separately metered. The chargers will be separately metered, which allows the UK to charge differently because they're separately metered. And like I say, we thought gasoline prices and diesel prices are going sky high. Well, electric rates are going to be ballistic to make up for the amount of money that's not being paid to maintain the road. So when you're charging your vehicle, those electrical rates are going to be skyrocketing. So it's not going to be a free lunch. And in addition to that, to protect the grid, again, back in 22, the UK, all these home chargers, all the chargers at work, they're programmed not to work 9 hours a day during peak load requirements. So if you have a truck and you want to charge it between 4 p.m. and 10 p.m., you won't be able to do that. And 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. I mean, those are the hours that the chargers won't even be working. And because it's on a separate meter, if their grid gets in trouble, they'll just turn off the power to the charger. So it might be more than 9 hours a day that they're not working.
And the demand for this grid is growing stupidly, I mean, vertically.
Well, exactly, because I live in a cul-de-sac. It's a long cul-de-sac. There's like 10 houses on each side, so 20 houses in this cul-de-sac. And if you can visualize, the electric company brings in a circuit for this cul-de-sac, and one charger running is going to pretty much load it up. And so, if all 20 houses had EVs, the electric company would have to basically bring in a different kind of a circuit.
You mentioned the weight of these batteries. You mentioned 5,000 kilograms,
No.
8,000 pounds.
Well, 16,000 pounds for a truck, and 1,000 pounds for a sedan. Because they're big vehicles, they need a lot of power to move them.
And how much remains to the useful charge? Because they need a quantity of space to move goods and things like that. Using 16,000 pounds only with batteries, how much remains to the useful
Well,
charge?
it probably doesn't take that much space for eliminating the hauling capability, because you can put 16,000 pounds in a pretty small area, but the ability to hold the charge is going to be depending on the weather, how hot it is, how cold it is. You're going to have less of a range, and it's going to be challenging just to manage the charging schedule. If you have a long haul, you have to have a pre-planned where you're going to charge, how much miles you're going to get. Then there better be a charging station there. And it's going to basically, I think it's obvious, it's going to raise the cost of transporting goods.
Yeah. Let me make a simulation with you, please.
Sure.
Supposing all trucks became electric, who will pay the maintenance of these roads?
That's to be determined by the people driving the requirement. You've heard of user pays. There's a VMT, vehicle mileage tax, which is another way. Whatever mileage you use, you pay into the system. But how to implement that without looking at your odometer, that's something that there's a lot of questions. There's a lot of ways it can be done, but is it ethical? Is it right?
Yeah.
So they really haven't quite figured out how they're going to do that. Right now, it's easy. Basically, people load up fuel in their tank, and whatever gallons they pay, the taxes is already on the posted price. So you're paying for the fuel, and you're paying for the maintenance of the roads. And here in California, you're also paying for high-speed rail. There's a lot of costs that are dumped onto that posted price.
That's right. So,
yeah.
Is it part of the California's aggressive target agenda to make transition to 100% emission? I mean, zero emission in 2000 and I don't know 30.
Yes, that's why I write. That's why I write a lot of op-ed articles on energy literacy, because they want to go zero emission at any cost. And it's going to be amazing, because right now, the EVs, elites have bought the EVs. Elites will continue to buy the EVs. But Armando, we're starting to run out of the elites. Now we're getting down to the common folk. They need a workhorse vehicle, because the elites, the profile of the EV owner is highly educated, sometimes 1 or 2 degrees, high income, multi-car family, homeowners where they can park the car in the garage. But most people aren't as highly educated, don't have as high income, don't have multi-car families. They need a workhorse. And they don't live in a house, so they have to park in the street. And it's going to be really challenging. That's why, most auto dealers are starting to show losses, cutting down on production. Used car sales are not happening. New car sales aren't happening. New EV sales, they're slowing down. So a lot of new cars, new EVs on the lot that aren't being sold because, like I say, we're running out of the elites and the common folk. You have to take a look at too the weather. Here in the United States, we've had some pretty nasty weather throughout the country, but California has about, of all the EVs in the United States, about almost 40% of them are in California. We got a very temperate climate, and the next temperate climate is Florida. You don't have the big extreme weathers. And we got 6 times as many EVs as Florida. Well, they're a smaller state also. But the rest of the country, if you're in the desert, it's hot. And if it's hot, you want your air conditioning running. Well, duh, Armando, the air conditioner runs off the battery. And if it's minus 20 degrees, you want your heater running. And duh, the heater runs off the battery. I saw a picture of a guy up in Alaska. It was minus 40 degrees. He was charging his car. By the time he charged his car, he might have froze to death.
Yeah. So you believe that's a kind of a second car toy for the elites?
That's the EVs right now are generally second cars. Unless you have a job that is really close and you can go there and get back and just plug it back into your garage. But I know a lot of people have EVs that do not use it as a primary vehicle. They need a workhorse vehicle. Or if it is a primary vehicle, it's because they got short range, back and forth, back and forth.
Mm-hmm. And do you see that this can result in the deteriorating of the highways in California?
Well, obviously, if you're adding heavier loads, it's going to be more wear and tear than lighter loads.
Yeah.
And with we got a lot of cars out here, a lot of people. California's got like 30 million vehicles in the whole state, and that's a lot. And like you say, it does. I don't see any positives other than the fact that they're trying to save oil, but the car is made with oil, the tires are made with oil, the insulation is made with oil. The EV is basically 100% made with oil. It just has a battery to make it operate. But its limitations are how much power it can, store, and you have a limited range.
Can you see a trend to a reduction of the growth of EV sales, or you see it's still stable? Because I know that in the United States is almost 8% of total vehicle sales are EVs.
Well, I think the EV sales are already starting to decline. Well, yeah. Ford is cutting production. They're losing, money on every car they sell. So it's, I wrote an article, I think it was 2 years ago, that the auto industry was mandated into a death spiral because they were mandated to reduce their emissions so low they had to go EVs. Now, I, as an engineer, I thought a hybrid was fantastic. You double your gas mileage and you buy hundreds of years to develop battery technology. But the auto industry has been mandated to get their emissions down so low for the entire fleet of vehicles they have. Mm-hmm. The only way they were able to do that, they had to eliminate the gasoline engine in the hybrid. So most manufacturers are only manufacturing EVs. There's a few hybrids still out there, if it fits within the calculations for the emissions for the entire fleet. But most automobile manufacturers have to be all into EVs. And like I say, there's not enough lithium and cobalt in the world to build that many batteries. You don't have all the elites available to buy them. And, you can run out of people to buy them and run out of charging capabilities of the grid. And there's so many negatives, but financially is probably the biggest one is, most working class people can't afford a car, let alone, an EV.
Do you see that the mindset that's basing this legislation is focused on subsidies, protection of friends? What's the base of this logic?
Well, it is subsidies. And the interesting thing is, you and I both know that all the exotic minerals and metals to build these EV batteries, the lithium and the cobalt, it's coming from developing countries that have no environmental controls and no labor controls. They're exploiting people that have yellow, brown, and black skin. The environmental degradation is atrocious. And without subsidies, it wouldn't happen. Now, I wrote the book Clean Energy Exploitations, which got nominated for Pulitzer Prize. And it explains and brings transparency to the fact that, yeah, we're exploiting a lot of people in poor countries and destroying their land so we can go green. And, after writing the book, I made a personal decision. I will never buy an EV for ethical and moral reasons because I know where the lithium and cobalt is coming from, and I'm not willing to financially support that. You remember the movie Blood Diamond that DiCaprio was in years ago? Well, these are blood minerals. And the interesting thing, and I find it appalling, the government is providing subsidies to buy the EV. They're providing financial incentives for China to continue exploiting people who have yellow, brown, and black skin, continue the environmental degradation of your land so we can drive an EV. I think it's unethical. I think it's immoral. But hey, I can't challenge the government.
So we have ICE, electric, and hybrids in the center. Hybrids is acceptable for you.
I think hybrids are great. Like I say, you basically have the battery, running the car, but the gasoline engine is charging the battery. And so, yeah, you can pretty much almost double your gas mileage instantaneously. And yeah, so to me, that was a no-brainer. But the people that want to go green to, zero emissions at any cost. And to do that, they basically, I think they've mandated the auto industry into a death spiral.
And why companies are not manufacturing too many types of hybrids? Because as you said,
because they had to eliminate that gasoline engine so that the emissions of their entire fleet met the regulations that are on the paper right now.
Makes sense. Other states in the United States are doing the same of California, or is only California doing this?
Well, California has designated 2035 where you can't buy an internal combustion engine. And the other states have not, some states have done that. Very few have because, like I say, California is a wealthy state. There's a lot of elites here. And like I say, the elites have bought them and will continue to buy them. But, most people are not in that category and some people can't even afford a car to begin with, let alone, double the price. It was interesting. I drive a Mercedes, and just out of curiosity, because I qualified as an EV owner, the education and income and homeowner, because I was looking at an E350 four-door sedan Mercedes. So I looked at the E version online, and it's stickered out at $110,000. I said, oh my God. And I looked at the E350 and the gasoline version, it was $50,000 less.
Wow.
And so, for people that can't afford a car, and like I say, by 2035 in California, I wouldn't be able to buy the E350 gasoline car. I'd have to buy the E350 in the E version. And it's, right now it's an extra, $50,000.
So there is no other state in the United States doing the same, but in Europe, Germany copied a little bit California, no? It's something similar.
Well, yeah, they went all electric, and they eliminated a lot of their power plants and went to wind turbines and solar panels, and now they have a lot of intermittent electricity. And now, Germany has, I think, the highest price of electricity in the world.
Yes, and importing energy from France, that's nuclear based.
Well, California is the same way. We're shutting down power plants. In fact, California imports more electricity than any other state in the country. We import 30% of our electricity needs from adjoining states. And if those adjoining states go EVs, they're going to need all the power they need that they generate, and they won't have any for us. We got the demand, they got the supply.
Yeah, that's right. Ronald, do these decisions depend on the government, the party that's governing the country, or is independent? There is a agenda, uplift agenda.
Well, it's interesting because, the 50 states over the United States, it's kind of like 50 countries. Each state does their own thing. It's not a national program. And so, California being, very democratic one-party state, they can pretty much do anything they want, and they're doing it. I think to demand that, you can't buy an internal combustion engine after 2035 should not be a state requirement, should be a national requirement. But I don't think it would ever get to the national. I don't think it would ever pass because there's a lot of people that have to speak up that, they're driving around in junkers now, and to spend the big bucks for a electric vehicle, it won't happen.
With the new Secretary of State, Podesta, I'm not sure the name is this.
Yeah.
Something can change.
No.
No.
It has to start at the top and trickle down. But our President Joe Biden, Governor Gavin Newsom in California, they're the ones with a microphone, and they're saying we're going electric. Case closed. We're going electric, and all the policymakers. The frustrating thing, Armando, is everybody that's in office today promoting the green movement, all the policymakers in their position right now passing these laws and regulations, by 2035, they'll either be termed out, they'll passed away, or whatever. And the people that have to abide by the rules that they're passing today are the kids in grade school.
Yeah, that's right.
By 2035, which is 13 years away, you take a 6-year-old, 13 years from now, they're going to want to buy a car.
And these people will face the problems that
It's
people
right.
are creating now. Yes,
exactly. They're the ones that are going to face the problem. Because right now, the people, that have a car, you might not be able to buy an internal combustion engine. Well, okay, will keep mine, instead of selling it type thing. And
prices are so different, electric, and why the price is so different? ICE and electric.
Well, because of the battery, for one. The battery is a very expensive component of the battery. I think the EV is easier to maintain because it has less moving parts. But to build the battery, and the fact that talk about the supply chain. We don't have the supply chain to support building batteries. China controls most of the exotic minerals and metals in the world. Most of the cobalt's in one country in Africa. Lithium, a big chunk of it's in South America. Both the cobalt and cobalt in Africa and lithium in South America is under control of the Chinese. And, they've obviously shown no ethics toward people or a requirement to have, environmentalists protect their land. So, the environmental degradation is atrocious, but it's something that we don't see it. I mean, that's why we wrote that book, Clean Energy Exploitations. And it's every year, every day, it gets truer and truer. And it just scares me.
Electric cars probably is becoming more diverse. Chinese cars are growing in the United States, BYD and other cars competing with Tesla. But for heavy trucks, who provides this manufacturing? Is U.S. companies internally?
No, a lot of them are being manufactured overseas and they're shipped over here.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So a lot of the cars are. That's why you got these big ship freighters that bring 4,000 cars at a time to the United States.
Using electric ships, of course.
Oh, of course, yes, that's right. That's right. Electric ships.
Electric ships. My God, the world is so crazy. And do you expect that this environment can revert? Someone like can take control and move this situation, this logic?
Well, the tough part is of the 8 billion people on this planet, it's the wealthy countries that are pushing this green movement. And the wealthy countries represent a small minority of the 8 billion. 80% of the 8 billion on this planet are living on less than $10 a day. They can't afford to subsidize themselves out of a paper bag. And we in the wealthy countries, you know, the US, UK, you know, Australia, we're the ones, you know, really setting the policies for them to abide by. And, you know, even our own people can't afford to buy the stuff that we're coming up with. Somebody making less than $10 a day, they're never going to be driving a car. And it's crazy. I mean, the separation between the wealthy and the poor is getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
Bigger. Yeah.
And just like I mentioned, you know, all the laws that current lawmakers and policymakers are making are really impacting the grade school kids. You know, when they become of age, they're the ones that are going to want to buy, you know, computers and cars, and, you know, and we're just escalating the price of everything. And if you escalate the price of everything, it gets further and further away from the people making less than $10 a day. They're not going to be able to jump on the train.
So the conclusion, for my perspective, is let's bring our electric truck in the garage and go to pick up the kids from school.
You may need to, but I think the auto industry you're seeing more and more articles about they're losing money. The buyers aren't there. And I think it's beginning. It might be the beginning of the end of. And hopefully, you know, if the auto industry, you know, goes belly up, I mean, that would be devastating to the whole world economy. Mm-hmm. But hopefully, you know, we can transition away from this total electric concept, because I just don't see it happening.
Yeah. Thank you so much, and have an excellent electric truck trip today.
I'll do that if I can charge it.
Yes, you can charge. It will take 10 hours to charge an electric vehicle. Imagine the size of battery. You know,
Unbelievable. So,
thank you, Ronald.
Armando, you have a great day.
You too. Bye bye.
Bye bye.